Well,
Right,
we've more faces for radio, as I say, than television anyway.
Yeah, well, I definitely have a hairline for radio, that's for sure. So that's pretty much everything set up, guys. You don't have to start straight away. Like we're not official news media or anything like that. We don't really do intros. I kind of find that a bit awkward and stuff. So
pretty much like
jokes obviously been there before.
No, it's not. It's just a kind of gradual fade in, isn't it? That's more really the word for it. It's
a laid back chat, like we're just having a coffee.
What episode are we on?
Sure.
62.
This is episode 62. Wow, that's
Well done, boys. That's
year and a half.
Yeah.
Keeping it going. We're not been shut down yet, even though we've complained about politicians and
controversial stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, now and again, we dabble.
You have to, don't you?
Yeah. It's a good thing there's no censoring or beeping on this podcast. A few episodes have got a bit coarse, but
there's a few cuts.
There is a few cuts in there now and again. Things we don't want to broadcast. But
I suppose that's going to happen now and again.
It's strange when you put a microphone in front of people. What people will say, like it's just like they'll talk their mind, and can be dangerous sometimes.
Well, I can imagine, because you maybe tend to forget what you are.
You surprise me,
Just don't mention any of the names.
No.
Proper name. We could maybe use somebody else's name.
Welcome. It's been a couple of weeks in the making, this one.
Good. Good. Nice to see you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Well, this is, funnily enough, Lee just told me outside that you've never met before.
No,
even though you've
never met.
The marathon.
No.
So, I mean, I was met with you about 6 months ago. Was it back in March, February sometime?
Yeah.
We met in Dakota, and then we met at the Oaks and that, and I can only apologise for taking this long to set this up, because the first time that I met you guys, I was saying that we could potentially do a documentary without realising that the documentary that I was just starting then was still in the works now. Let's just say a lot of filmmaking and stuff like that, you learn that not a lot of filmmaking goes on, so there's more like legal and waiting, which is... never great, but we're here now on quite a significant week for your guys' charity, and that Lee is also contributing in, the main contributor in this particular case with the marathon. First of all, congratulations on the training and everything that's gone well so far.
Well done, Lee.
Thank you.
One more run.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we have one more run to go. I'll get my stats up. Let's see what we've done in the last. I started training in May. I've looked up a few schedules and things, and I had no idea how to train for a marathon. So
first marathon.
First marathon, I enjoy long distance running. I've always enjoyed running. Never a sprinter, always a long distance kind of guy, especially in school and things. But so since we've started, we have 56 runs. We have 57 hours and 23 minutes of running time. We have 389 miles covered. 9,623 feet climbed. I've managed to get my half marathon time down to 1 hour and 48 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
So we're looking at about 3.5 to 4 hours for a marathon.
If you can do that, that'll be excellent.
Yeah, I'd be really quite happy with myself with that. We're also £990 into our total.
Brilliant.
But you can actually count that as 1,980 because my work, Arnold Clark, are going to double that.
Wow, that's great.
They've said any contribution, any donation, they will double.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So we're well on the way, guys. We had £1,000 target. We're £20 off.
Well, that's brilliant.
You broke it. Well done.
And
we collect the photo.
Sorry?
We had a collection photo.
Yes.
Yes, you did. Yes, appreciated. Yeah, absolutely.
Jokes there online. See, he's a bit of dinosaur with it.
I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this.
Steam driven.
You've got to make exceptions for me.
But I did see your Facebook. Not Facebook. What was it?
My Just Giving page. Yeah. So we're actually up to, I think it's only 840, but we have £140 in gift aid as well. So
yeah, that's good.
We're also getting there. I've also got a round of donations to go and do at my work this week to try and get some cash and things like that. So, we'll keep it going for probably about 2 to 3 weeks after the marathon.
Yeah. That's good. That's brilliant.
But yeah, we're well on the way, and I know how much the money helps. So that you're kind of asking me before what keeps me motivated. That is kind of a motivation. That's for someone who's able to go out and do these things to help someone who's not able to maybe go and do these things. That's the little bit that I can do.
That's great.
So
well, we very much appreciate it.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Of course, superb.
They're a very good cause.
Well done.
Absolutely.
But that giving page is brilliant. Whereas when I used to do all my stuff, it was paper. You had to hand fill in sheets, collection
jars and
sheets.
stuff like that.
Back in the old days, you'd go in trying to grab ahead of somebody and get a few bucks off them.
I suppose that's like a good thing about because of the online. There's nowhere to hide if someone was
It's unbelievable the amount of people that put anonymous donations in. I think about half my donations have been anonymous.
Of course,
and that's kind of like that's a bit of a selfless good deed, as they say. Putting your name to something, I appreciate it, and I like it when somebody puts their name to it because I can then thank them personally. I know who's made a donation, but the anonymous people, that's genuine. I quite like that. It's a very selfless good deed.
That's right.
You've absolutely killed it, mate.
Yeah,
you've absolutely killed it in not just raising the money, but the amount of time that you've put into this. It's
absolutely,
nothing to be shaking your head at with the task and you'll absolutely smash it at the weekend. But I suppose we should actually say the specific charity this is for because we haven't actually mentioned Huntington Disease yet.
We all know about it.
So you guys are, I don't want to say the face, but when we met, there's a very community of yous that meet up, and I would say that used to and Brian, who couldn't make it tonight, but we will have yous on again, and we will have Brian on, are the main three campaigners, I would say, publicly. Like, yous have been in the newspaper, yous are always fighting the corner for this, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in terms of the struggles that it's been to get some adequate services and adequate support funding and all that. But do you guys want to talk a bit about what HD is and the support group that you are part of, and I suppose how you met as well? I guess that would be an interesting take as well.
Keep it clean.
We met them under the AGM, isn't it?
I saw him in a wanted poster.
You gave it away, man.
You're a rich man these days, Jockey.
Obviously we met through the association, the Huntington's Association. And over the years we've been at various sort of conferences and stuff like that. So, and they've got things for carers, we've got a conference for carers, and you've got a conference, family conferences as well.
Yeah.
So that's basically where we met up. And we had a local group here in Elgin. That's been on the go for quite some time now.
But it stopped for a while, mine. The last one.
Yeah.
Last year one, and my one.
Okay.
Because we used to have a specialist nurse come through from Aberdeen.
Yeah.
To go to our meetings and go to the families' homes and talk to them. And it was funded by the Moray Council. They withdrew their funding. So that meant the club was finished. Until Brian and Jock started it up again, and I joined them at the new one.
So was that when you actually that you met? Or did you know each other?
No, we met before.
We met before.
When roughly was this, guys? Was it?
Well, Brian started it. I was about a year before the COVID.
Just before COVID.
4 years.
Yeah.
Brian put a thing in the paper, in the local paper, to just ask anybody that was interested in getting involved in a group, and it just took off for there. So it was, as I said, if I look back thinking about it over the years, in the 90s we had a group in Elgin. It was in the resource centre.
Yeah.
And it was there was quite a few folk that were going then, but Jock was in there at that time. Then they formed another group, but I kind of dropped out. It comes to a stage sometimes where things move on. I mean,
Yeah.
as the disease progresses, maybe folk get to a stage where they can't manage to get there or whatever. So I kind of dropped out then in the 90s, early 90s. But Jock and them formed another group.
Yeah,
so it was kept going over a period of time, really. It would go for quite a while.
And then when our group finished up, like I say, when we lost the funding, I joined the Highland one. Okay. And my first trip to there was in Tain, up in the way
That's
up.
quite a trip.
So I went up there.
Wow.
That's where I met other people. Yeah, so it was really good, to find how the support in different areas.
And were they all based in Tain Jock, or were they
they came from out about, Invergore and all the towns round about. Yep. But that was the base they were going to have their meeting up. Just same with us in Elgin, we used to have it in the resource centre.
Yeah.
But they came from all over.
Aye.
The town and it.
Yeah.
The first one I went to, they didn't actually have one in Elgin. It hadn't started. And we used to go through to Inverness. There's a woman through in Inverness, Elspeth Hall was her name. And she was the person that kind of got the thing going there. And it was quite a good sized group. Mm-hmm. But then they started up the group in Elgin. I think it was Fran and James Gardner.
Yeah.
They were sort of instrumental in setting up the group in Elgin. Yep. And it just took off for there. So it was. But I mean, there's a lot of people sort of dip in and dip out.
Yeah.
All the time. As I said, as it maybe illness progresses in different families, they'll maybe find that somebody's getting on a bit and they can't go to the meetings.
Yes.
So because a lot of times that they'll find that the family is actually the carer for the person that's got the disease.
Of course.
And that's got a big impact because maybe they've got a lot to look after, they've got a family, and et cetera. It's quite a big...
a huge commitment.
A big commitment, exactly. Yeah.
Do you ever find when new people come into the group and that maybe someone that's recently been diagnosed or someone as a family member that's recently diagnosed, do you ever see people maybe kind of be a bit hesitant to come in and talk about it to begin with, and then obviously that's where you guys come in, so there's a community that people can speak about?
Aye, very much.
When we do meet people, we all tell them, you better to talk, don't keep it in, and come, and you're speaking to people who relates where you're coming from, which 100%. Helps them and you. It can be difficult for somebody to come for the first time and talk to people.
Yeah.
Because before the clubs were started in Elgin, like I say, the specialists used to come to your house, and my wife would have spoke to these people, but I don't think she would talk to people in that group.
Yeah.
It'd be hard for some people.
Absolutely. It's hard for people to open up about the easiest things and never mind the most difficult of things. Yeah.
Aye.
Do you guys want to maybe just explain a little bit about what Huntington disease is and how it affects people, just to give kind of people who are listening a bit more of a insight?
Yeah, well, it's actually a genetic fault. Yep. It's a genetic fault, and it's a terminal. Unfortunately, there's no cure for it.
You just go one way.
It's neurological. It has a neurological effect on the body, which for a lot of people, normally mainstream, it would be starting in their maybe 30s, late 30s, 40s, and then you've got like a 15-year progression, which is a normal sort of thing, and it's just a downward spiral for there, and it's going to affect your different folk in different ways, but generally there can be a lot of movement, career, involuntary movements, speech. A lot of people struggle with the speech, and then you've got like cognitive ability is that's they find it struggling to sort of coordinate things. Like simple tasks, maybe trying to pull things together, find that difficult. So it's a steady decline all the way, and you can be you get infirmed. When you become infirmed, it's maybe kind of walk, you can't, just your speech goes, and it's quite. It's difficult for a family to live with that and see that happening,
Yeah.
Every day, your life, you know what I mean?
It's tough,
especially if you've got children in the family.
Yes.
I've got only one grandson, and he's living with his mum and dad, and his dad has got the illness, So he's seeing that every day, and yet he's at the age where he's getting counselling from HD to decide whether he wants to take a test or not.
Yes.
But he's seeing that every day, and he's also been up here and saw his grandma before she passed away. Mm-hmm. So he's got all that in his mind. It must be hard on him to make a decision.
It's a traumatic thing.
Oh, definitely.
To be faced with, for sure.
Because it's a 50-50 chance if that gene's passed on.
Yeah, it's a hereditary disease.
Yes.
So it's a 50-50. So it's like Russian roulette, really. Spin the thing.
Because it's important to say that neither of you two guys actually have Huntington's, but your wives had it, and it's been passed down to children and grandchildren. On your side. Yeah. I know I don't want to make it sound like it's hard, because obviously with the disease you can understand the ailments that brings, but how hard is it being in that kind of family, seeing someone go through that, not only just someone that was your other half, but obviously as it's went down the generations as well?
It's a tough call.
It's very hard, very difficult.
I mean, I worked for years, 20 years in the oil industry. You're making all this roughy toughy guys. I'll tell you something. This Huntington's thing about bringing it to your knees, I'll tell you, you need to be strong. You've got to be strong to carry with your family, yourself, your own sanity, because it would just do your head in if you let it get to you.
I think that's how I would describe all three of you guys that I met, because Brian, who's not here tonight, actually has Huntington's disease.
Yeah, that's
correct.
In terms of the campaign that you do for this, and not letting people that try and take shortcuts, for lack of a better term, not mentioning any names, Moray Council, but not let them try and do you over in a way, because that's what they're kind of known for. And not just with this in particular, but with everything, they will try and cut a service and then say there's not funding there and that. And it's people like yourselves in these groups that are not only speaking, and that's an important thing, because it encourages other people to come and speak. There's a power in that, but also the campaigning that you're doing to make sure that you are getting what you need and what you deserve, and keeping that going. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
See, the NHS in Moray, they have backup services for most illnesses, but they don't have much for HD.
Yeah.
And they get the impression that everybody can be cared at home.
Yeah.
And you're the carer, so you're saving them money. And we're fighting for more things for people.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's very difficult, because it's all down to money. But going back to Huntington's, with some illnesses, it's a one-off. But with Huntington's, you've got 4 or 5 cooperated into the one.
Yeah.
And that makes it worse, very difficult, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm the same as Jock. I was in the oil industry as well, and I thought I could handle anything, working with these maniacs. But this got to me, I'll tell you, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, it broke me. Well, it didn't break me, but
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, especially when you've got to put them into a nursing home. That's a terrible big decision to make yourself.
I think you've got to be, like, when you're in that position, you feel like maybe you think you're making a wrong decision, or you're faced with decisions that
makes you feel guilty.
It's really hard, right? But I think there used to be a lady. She was a professor of the genetics in Aberdeen. Dr. Sheila Simpson was her name.
Star.
She was brilliant. She was an absolutely fantastic lady. Yeah. And I remember telling her, I went through to have a meeting with her, and she said to me, whatever you do, she says, you've got to be faced with a lot of tough decisions to make in your family, for your kids, for your wife and everybody else. And she says, don't look back thinking that you've made the wrong decision. That wasn't the right decision. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have said that. She says, don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
You just think that what you've done is right for your family. At that particular time, that was the right decision to make. And she says, don't think any other way. Because if you do, it'll just do your head in.
And stuff like that. Yeah,
so for me, that was the best bit of advice I ever got.
Mm-hmm.
And I still today use that. I revert back to that at the time. Because she was, I think for folk, unless you're in the family and you can see what's happening, like for folk outside looking in, they didn't see what's going on. But I mean, I think it's crazy for us. What's it like for a person who's got the disease, Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's
very difficult.
I mean, we're all trying to work around about it and keep that person as well as can be expected. But there's times when you do question yourself, should I have done that? Should I have said that?
You do.
But it's only natural to do that. But then again,
100%,
you just wipe it out and say, right, okay, let's go forward. You got to move on.
Everything happens for a reason, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we had an incident down in my son's house. He stays down the borders of Dumfries and Gulp. And his son was in that night and he protected his mother. And he was crying and everything. And I said to him, look, son, that's your dad. But what happened last night was the illness. It's still your dad there. It's difficult for him to accept these. Because Sheila Simpson says to me, things will happen in the house and you're the nearest and dearest and you get it. So when you're first getting slagged off or getting hit or things happening,
there's a lot of violence. Why? Sometimes a lot of violence involved.
You know what I mean? Oh, it's hard to take from to see your wife or your husband doing these things to you.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's the illness. It's not them.
Is that because it has a lot of neurological effects?
Yeah. I mean, it could turn the most placid of people into something totally strange.
One word. Or do something the wrong way.
Bing.
That's it. Because these people get into a routine, and if you break that routine, like you're late with the supper or you're late with this or you don't do something right, they just go, just flare up.
Because I specifically, one of the conversations that we had back in March when I was taking notes on that was, I'd never heard of Huntington's disease before. It was actually Lee that put me in touch with you guys through his fiancée Carrie, which we've also discussed before. Is also affected by HD with it.
Her dad passed from HD. I think that was 2009 or so. So that's kind of where my involvement comes in, because I know she obviously thought very fondly of her dad. So that's kind of where I come along. Sorry, carry on.
One of the things I specifically remember when we were talking about behaviours and that Huntington's kind of causes in people was, you were talking to me about the amount of incidents that people end up getting like arrested by the police because they're assumed to be drunken and disorderly and stuff like that, which like kind of blew my mind in a way that's the case. And he's also made a point of, well, we don't want to have to like wear a badge to say we've got HD, and why should you have to know?
Exactly.
But it's ignorance, because a lot of people don't know anything about HD, and even the professional people. I had trouble in Elgin years ago with the doctors. They never dealt with patients. And you wouldn't believe that. But that specialist nurse sent paper around, letters around to all the surgeries asking them would they have a meeting to discuss it and explain what it is. It was refused.
I think a lot of it's quite a complex thing. Once you get into it, it's really quite complex. I mean, people have been mistaken to be drunk because of the movement and the slurring of speech. So they're not. Somebody could be picked up. Well, jokes. Brother-in-law was picked up. He was picked up by the police because they thought he was drunk. But and they can be disorderly because if somebody took a hard at them, they'll kick off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's got all the. You would say, look at state of him, fun about he sees too much drink. But it's just, my daughter went into a shop. Jude's 37. She went into a local shop, and she bought she likes his ciders, getting his fruit ciders. So she bought a pack of these ciders because she was bouncing about her place. So the guy says, sorry, I can't sell you that. She had to explain to the guy, and she's taking out her badge. She wears one of these badges, although it was inside her jacket. She took it out and showed the guy. She got it eventually, but I know.
It's a lot of hassle for someone to go through. It's a vulnerable position to be put in.
And also to have to explain yourself all them times, that's it's not easy for people who are maybe finding.
When I used to go to the Inverness branch for their meetings, there was one of the ladies that came there, was banned from the local cooperative shop for the same thing. And Isabel Darrick was a lady from Glasgow that used to come up to our meetings and hold them. She went with a lady after the meeting to the shop and explained what was wrong with the lady. Because they just thought, they thought, she's drunk. Get her out of here.
Do Do you think that's like the way forward, like education?
Definitely.
Because obviously, like when it comes to like the police and stuff like that, if they do see someone acting like that, they are going to assume that it is like I don't think it's like a cynical thing of where they're just picking on, like it. But I think education probably is the way forward on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like that's what we try to do. It's part of the thing that we're doing as well, is to raise awareness.
Yeah.
So if you can do that and bring that forward, so that a lot of people out there can see what's happening, because a lot of people never even heard of Huntington's.
Yeah, well,
true.
That's kind of one of the things I've got here. You kind of see a lot in like media and things about MND and things like that. Why do you think like HD doesn't get as much exposure as kind of? I know you've got things like the My Name's Doddy Foundation, which is obviously. Is there any kind of bigger foundations to do with HD, or is it just kind of the charities to do with Scottish charities and British charities?
I think that there's I think they're getting more people on board now because, like you say, I mean, there's is it Casualty? Casualty.
Casualty's got a doctor.
There's a guy there, Nathan, but his name that's his. What's his name? George somebody.
Aye, I can't remember.
He's an actor, famous actor. He plays a part of a doctor in Casualty. So he's a advocate for. He's a guy that does a lot of advocating for HD.
Yep.
There was another one in EastEnders.
Aye.
He had it as well. So people then were watching and listening. It probably helped them. I don't know.
I mean, that can only be a good thing because that brings mainstream representation, and I think people overlook how much power that can give, having that kind of representation on the likes of TV that millions of people are watching on, gets people thinking on these kind of topics.
It's very sad to say, but if a celebrity had HD or things, you would probably hear a lot more about it.
We've got one. She was a gold medalist at the London Olympics.
Sarah Winkles.
Sarah Winkles.
She was an Olympic gold medalist, a rower. And she's an ambassador for HD.
Huntington. She's got it.
Wow.
She's actually got HD.
We had a meeting, a meeting in Stirling, and she was there. And the night before the conference, we had a dance after the meal, and it was Scottish dancing. And the bloke that was running it, he would show them the steps, and that before he would play the tune, you know what I mean? So we met her in the morning. We says, "Did you enjoy yourself last night, Sarah?" She says, "I trained for 10 years to get a gold medal." She says, "And that was the hardest thing I ever done, was learn to dance."
Brilliant.
But that was good. Everybody had a good laugh, you get me?
But you are not just in Moray, you go like kind of nationwide to these events and
we do,
like dinners and stuff like that. How educational has that been for you to learn more about the disease on a wider scale and get to meet other people from other areas?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's fantastic. It's really, it's one of the best things that we do, really, isn't it?
Yeah. We've got one in November, and there's Professor Wild, is it?
Aye, Ed Wild.
Ed Wild. He deals with for drugs, testing up. Mm-hmm. He's coming to give us a speech at our conference.
Okay.
So you're meeting different people.
Yep.
But that American lad came over, he had HD as well, to one of our meetings.
There's a Professor Waldemir or something like that. He's for like a university in Boston, and he was over. He's been over a couple of times.
Yeah.
Are these like the type of universities that are like actively trying to like seek treatments and like
and
stuff like that?
They're mainly like Roche. They've been doing a couple of big trials recently, but one of them they pulled the plug on it. In fact, one of my daughters was on it, and that got stopped. There was a wee bit of something wasn't right. They weren't happy with the way it was going on, so they stopped.
I think it was a lot of side effects in most of the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my wife did it 30 years ago, one of these tests for Roche. And that was just tablet forms. Yep. But it didn't work, So there's tests going on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The public didn't know what's involved.
Brian's he's actually on a test just now.
He's got two, hasn't he?
There's one for
Huntington's itself, another for weight loss.
There's a drug
test.
Try
control it.
Aye.
Okay.
they'll never stop it.
Yeah.
They'll maybe slow it down.
Prolong it, I guess, would be the word,
And are these drugs, they're more just kind of trying to slow things down and get things under control a little bit more?
Aye, well, what I reckon is, because Huntington, there's a trigger.
Okay.
Now, what they want to do is stop at a trigger. That's basically what they're trying to. They're not trying to cure it as such at the moment. What they're trying to do is prevent that trigger from happening.
That stops
that's
it
the basis.
where it is.
Right.
Because although you've got it, it's in there, maybe you've got that faulty gene, right? But you might be about 45-year-old before the trigger goes, before you start to see the effects. Or you might be 60. It's different.
So I guess they're trying to suppress it, delay until the trigger. Yeah.
In my experience too, when you do meet people with HD, it doesn't seem to be too the same. It affects people differently.
Yeah.
I mean, Margaret, which was my wife, her mother was the carrier in the family, and when I went with Margaret to the hospital to see her, she was strapped in to try and stop the movements. The body, she was that bad with her movements. And yet Margaret didn't have these movements.
Yeah.
So they're all different. It affects them differently.
I think with the advancements in medical science and that have happened and that are to come, I think they will develop something that will...
Well, Jock's daughter we were getting acupuncture, wasn't it, in the spine?
It was a lumbar puncture.
Lumbar puncture, sorry.
Okay.
And it was, they reckon it's the most effective way to get the drug into the brain was through the spinal cord. So it was a spinal tap.
Yeah.
But it was it was a very nice thing to do. But she was... she put her name forward, fair play to her. And there's a guy for Inverness, Sunday Patience, he did the same thing. He was in the same programme.
Yep.
But as I said, they pulled the plug on it last year because they weren't happy with the way it was going.
And is this all NHS based or is it private companies?
No, it's private companies. That was Roche, that was
the
drugs company.
I think there's six big companies involved with the European one.
I think there's 11.
Is it 11?
11 different tests going on at the moment.
Okay.
Drug in different countries. I mean, Brian would tell you that he's getting blood tests, and his blood goes to, what's it go to? San Francisco or something.
In Switzerland.
Switzerland. It goes to America and it goes to Switzerland. And
well-travelled man.
Yeah.
But you know something? The foreign countries come to Scotland to be taught. We're the most advanced trying to find a cure. They come here to be taught for HD.
Oh, wow.
So that's something to be proud of.
100%. And I think that seems to be quite a common thing with Scotland. It seems to be quite a trailblazer for a lot of these kind of, I don't want to say experimental medications, but trying to find solutions and all these tests. If not work in the next 10, 20 years, it will benefit a generation that have maybe not even been born yet.
Yeah.
That's correct. They'll get the benefit.
And
that one we're doing just Brian and them's on now. It's tablet for them, isn't it?
Just a tablet, yeah.
Which is good as well.
My daughter's she's starting one, I think it's in October, end of October, a similar kind of thing. It's just a tablet. It's no this lumbar puncture, but it's a different company. It's a different company involved in it.
Yeah.
But they're like, these guys, the work that's going on is absolutely incredible. Yeah. But like you say, for MND, they're finding, I mean, Huntington's has been described as having MND, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And the more these people are finding out about Parkinson's, and so there's obviously something in there that they're sharing the information that they're getting back, for these places. Mm-hmm. It's all helping, at the end of the day. I mean, they will get there.
They'll get there eventually, but how long's a piece of string?
Speaking about medical care and that, can we talk a little bit about the National Health Service? I know it will probably be not the most popular topic, but I've got to admit, when I did speak to you the first time in March, my mind was kind of blown at some of the stuff that you guys were telling me. And the next thing I want to bring up was when Brian told me that he went to the doctor and the doctor asked what was wrong with him. And that just kind of whole concept of a doctor asking what's wrong with you defeats the entire purpose of seeking medical care. It's I'm here for you to tell me.
Yeah.
And the fact that none of these doctors and people in the NHS seem to be trained in Huntington's disease. I know you have the nurse that I met is it Shirley?
Shirley.
I knew it was either Katrina or Shirley, so I was trying to remember. But
they were buddies.
She is the only one in the area that has training in Huntington's disease. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say she was the only one. I would say that there possibly other nurses out there, but they're not actually actively involved.
Right. Okay.
With the Huntingtons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's the
she's a designated.
Shirley, she's to share with Parkinson's on us.
Okay.
So things could maybe get on top of her sometime. I don't know. It would be better if it could a nursage.
Yep.
And concentrate on just the one.
Yeah, because that seems like it's stretching.
It's putting pressure on Shirley.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Can you just go into a bit of how great that she's been for you guys in the support group and that? Because when I met you at the Oaks and she was there, you could tell that she's a very reassuring, calming presence, and speaks to everyone and knows everyone really well. So. Yeah.
Well, she knows her job. She's very good, isn't she?
But it first started when we got this group back together again. We didn't have a nurse here in Moray. There was no support. So we went to the NHS and the partnership and with the council, and we had a couple of meetings with them. So they agreed that Shirley was actually working for Parkinson's through the Moray Council.
Moray Council pays her.
She was like 3 days a week. So she said she'd be able to fit in another couple of days for Huntington's. But she went on a course, Stirling University did a course for HD nursing. Mm-hmm. And so she went on that, and she's been absolutely amazing.
She has.
She's terrific.
Now my son lives 300 miles away from here, and they're struggling down there with the same problems we've got in Moray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was an incident, and I got hold of Shirley, and she went on the phone and spoke to people, and it was solved like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
truly amazing. There's something about anyone can have a degree or some kind of qualification saying, but it never will beat someone with a genuine, authentic care for what they're working in. So yeah, that's amazing.
When you mentioned about doctors, I just had a problem with my wife early on in her illness. Took her to the doctors in Elgin, to Lightwood, and it was a lady doctor, I say, and she says, "What's wrong with your wife?" I say, "She's got Huntington's," and what I call it, the Bible. She brought out this medicine book to look it up. Yeah. So I told that she was Simpson, and she says, "What's your family doctor?" Because she was given one at the surgery, and it was Dr. Wilson she had. So she was Simpson, spoke to him and gave him all the information he required every time. But every time I took Margaret to the surgery, it had to be to see Dr. Wilson. Yeah. He was only one in the whole group that had anything to do with HD. No, it's wrong.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, people go to medical school for a decade almost to be qualified. It does feel like this is something that needs to be in the curriculum, so that there's a wide scale for us to at least have an introduction to it, instead of looking dumbfounded and being like, right, let me get this thesaurus out and find what we.
I think when you get to a stage like that, like Joe's wife, my wife was diagnosed with, it was depression, and it was postnatal depression first, and then it was depression after that. And this went on for years and years and years, and it was only by chance she happened to be in Ward 4 in Elgin at Bilbo Hall, and there was a doctor, a locum doctor, was through for Aberdeen, and she noticed her with a movement, and she went and found out the records, checked back the records, and she found out that's what it was. Mm-hmm. But nobody up there, all these years, I mean, talking years, no, just a 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
No, it was actually years.
And that's a traumatic thing, because the way that these kind of things work, they're on a rolling basis. Like, it's not like, you get a day when you're coming out. It's reviewed by people at the top, and then they can put back 3 months, 4 months. And that's a traumatic thing to go through, being your freedom taken away, you know?
I know. But again, there's this kind of stigma attached to it for families. Hide it. A lot of people don't want to come forward. And it's like, my mother-in-law knew what the problem was, right? She never ever said to me. She never told me.
Yeah.
Now, my wife's father, he died with Huntington's, and he had brothers, three that I know of, had Huntington's as well. And they were doing, well, 2 of them were doing it, one in Peterhead, one in Fraserburgh. And it's a huge thing down there. It's quite a big group of people down there that's got HD. It's like a hot spot there. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people just don't want to come forward because they've still got this stigma attached to it. And I mean, we've met people in the area here in Moray that, I mean, just a daft thing. We're doing a collection for Christmas time, a bucket collection at the Tesco's, and there's folk come past and putting money in the bucket, and we've had three different folk that we never knew about, and they had Huntington's in their family. Now, none of their families had come forward, never came to the group, or, you know. So
some of them might even
it's
be
difficult
registered.
to get figures, for the NHS or MD to get figures of how many, an accurate account of how many people there is actually in Moray. There is like 25 families registered.
And 6 children according to them.
That's official figures.
It's a lot more than that.
Definitely.
But there's more, we know more people than that. So,
wasn't it, I remember you showing me a newspaper article that over the last, 30 years, there's been a 50% rise in cases in Moray?
That's correct.
And then I asked the question, have you ever been given any kind of indicator there's going to be an investigation as to why that's happening, or if it's more? But I think it's just...
There was a thing going through Parliament this year, right? There was Jackie Bailey.
Labour MSP.
Right. She brought a thing up in the Scottish Parliament about Huntington's, and there was, I think it was majority, I think it was about 96%.
That's correct.
Of the cross parties, everybody down there signed up to this support for HD, but like a lot of these things, nothing happens. It's all good. It's all down in paper.
It's all for show almost.
I wrote to Nicola Sturgeon about 6 weeks ago. And it's still the first time.
I just second that.
And I usually get passed on to somebody else, some of the minions, I pick it up. Now, this guy, I wrote a letter back to me. Thanks very much for your letter, blah, blah, blah. Now, he says, I've got the details here for Highland, NHS Highland. And he gave me a phone number. He says, you want to find out, to get in contact with them, because it's basically, it's out of the hands of the politicians, it's into the NHS. I'm thinking, myself, this guy doesn't even know if Murray's in the Grampian, NHS Grampian, it's not in Grampian.
And that's one thing that tends to be a common thing. They put Moray sometimes in Grampian,
no man's land.
That's a
thing. Murray's actually an area too.
You were told there was a home in Tame. He says it's only 25 miles from Hopman, where Jock lives. Jock says if you have a boat, you can cross it. You go by the road, it's 100 or something.
70 odd miles by road. They say, I think that they obviously just hit for you and they drew a kind of 25 mile radius.
Crazy ones.
I mean, some of the incompetence that politics just, it has to almost be admired in a funny way.
Absolutely astounding.
But
we've got a thing called the National Care Framework, Huntington's National Care Framework, which was set up by a guy called Alistair Haw. Now he's our CEO. He's the CEO of the Scottish Huntington's Association. Now this is supposed to be, the idea was that this lays out all the things that should be in place for people with Huntington's within a region. So different regions of Scotland, if they signed up to the National Care Framework, they should be implementing all the recommendations that's in there. And there's quite a lot. It's quite a lot involved in it. But Grampian, there's some of the. I think Grampian was about one of the
last two in Scotland job was Grampian and Dumfries and Galway.
Dumfries and Galway. I think Orkney has signed up to it. Orkney, Shetland. Shetland.
Sorry, Shetland.
The Western Isles, that was another. But
course.
We've signed, what happened was Grampian signed up to it. We actually went to the launch.
There was
some head honcho there for Labour guy, what was his name?
Oh, McDonald. Was it McDonald?
Aye.
Quite terrible, I can't mean. I could see him, but...
Suit and tie type.
Ewan McDonald?
Yeah.
Is it Ewan McDonald?
They tell you about anything.
He was there.
Aye.
And I mean, this thing, as I said, it's quite a comprehensive document, all the stuff that's in there. So, Grampian signed up to this. So, we were still having meetings at the time with the NHS and Moray here.
Uh-huh.
And we went up and said, well, Moray hasn't signed up to this. Although the Grampian region has, Moray hasn't. So there's no way they were not implementing anything that was on this document.
Yeah.
So eventually we got them around to say, right, okay, they'll sign up to it, so, which they did. But nothing was ever done. I mean, it was like and within the document, there's a lot to do with training staff on HD, trying to get basically build up a workforce that's got specialist training. None of that's ever happened. No, it's just never.
Do you think they had any?
Never got off the
blocks? Do you think they ever had any intention of following through with that, or do you think they were? Just...
Well, we're going to find out.
We'll find out Monday. We've got a meeting on Monday.
We've got a meeting with them on Monday.
I mean, that is one of the best things about you guys is you really do stand for no nonsense when it comes to this. I mean, I remember you were also showing me a newspaper clip where you'd called the council out on, was it the room that you were using, and they had tried to paint it like you had voided the rights to the room or something like that, when in reality they told you can't use it anymore, and then swindled it to make it look like
chucked everybody out.
That's wild, like.
Yeah, when I passed that place today, Jock, the car park was full of cars. So what they doing?
I don't know.
They told Jock to go and get a church hall or something.
I said to when I phoned the guy, I says, right, can we start when the COVID thing was on, it was stopped, you see. So when the COVID thing was being a bit more relaxed, so I phoned him up and I said to this guy, can we start having more meetings again? He says, no way, no, he says, you'll not get back in here, we're using it for someone else now. I said, it's a resource centre, that's what it's supposed to be for. And he goes, no, he says, you want to be able to use it in here again, you'll have to find somewhere else. I says, well, have you got an alternative arrangement? No, he says, you'll have to go to the community centre or go in a church hall or something like that. So luckily, I'd spoken to Shirley about it, Shirley Cotto. So she then got in touch with the Oaks, and that's where we managed to get in there now. So
let's go and meet in
I mean, it's a better facility anyway. But I wouldn't tell them that.
So we've kind of got like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to explain kind of your own little kind of personal journey with HD and kind of how it's affecting yourselves and families and things like that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was married with Margaret, and it was in her family. She was the youngest of a family of 6, and only 2 of them didn't have the illness either. 4 of them, and she was the last one. But when her mum took ill, Margaret went to the doctors and asked, "What's wrong with my mum?" "Well, I have to be sterilised," And she was told it was Parkinson's, because the movement at the start is similar, to the two. And that sunk into her head about what the doctor says about Parkinson's. And she actually fell out with him one day and swore at him. And my wife never swore until she had HD, and then I was all the bad bees in it for the sun. But it was very difficult. It was okay in the early stages. She could do a lot of things for herself. But then it was getting that bad. She would drop things. She would put pans on the oven and turn on the gas and not ignite it. She'd put a kettle on for a cup of tea or coffee and no water in the kettle. Things like that.
Just forgetting certain things.
Yeah. And of course the movements, the walking and everything was getting bad. And I found it very difficult. I had to give up my work after I had finished the this year. And I was caring for her for about 15 years, and it was very, very difficult. And then we've only had one son, Derek, and he lived down in the Borders, probably still there, and He's now had the test, and he's got it. And the problem is, it's the same as here. There's no homes for HD people in Morayshire. You've got to go out with the area.
Yep.
He's in a mental hospital in Dumfries because they couldn't find a home with a bed, and we train people to look after him.
Yep.
So I'm trying to get him out of there, but it's very difficult. And before he went into the hospital, he was turning night into day, and he was found wandering down the street in his pyjamas at night looking for the paper shop. So we registered him with the police as a vulnerable person. So what happened, you had to call them, they took him home, and then they reported it to the social services and things like that. But it didn't work good very well because he took a bad turn one day with aggression, and they came and took him away. But I feel so, like I was telling you earlier, I feel sorry for my grandson. Because he's got to make this decision himself. And he's a person, it's very deep, he keeps everything in. And it's like trying to be a dentist and pull it out, you know, just what I do, when I express himself. And I think that's bad.
Absolutely.
Difficult. It's difficult to come to a stage where you've got to have a test.
Aye.
Find out you're 50-50. Am I going to get this? Am I not going to get it?
It's a daunting prospect.
It's putting a sentence on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you see, when Margaret sorry Joe, but when Margaret went through for the test at Aberdeen, excuse me, there was no counselling in them days. You got the test, you went back to get the result, they told you what it was, cheerio.
Yeah.
And that was it. But it's a bit different today, isn't it?
Aye.
Things are improving.
The aftercare is more so there these days. From kind of the point from getting the test to the point of actually needing treatment and things like that. Because it's not just a case of, it can be sometimes you can have this test and maybe symptoms don't start for another 20 years. So is it a case of like helping these people prepare for what's going to come, or is it just about kind of living the best life until this point comes? You know, is it a different approach for everyone? You know, obviously can't be a same approach for everyone.
I think when you look at it overall, I mean, it's an individual choice.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to go and do it or you don't want to go and do it. I mean, I know loads of people that are you know, they're in a position where they could have it, maybe they don't want to find out, you know.
They don't want to know. Yeah.
It's like flipping a coin, you know, heads or tails. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
But the counselling that the Lewis is on, it's a 3-month course.
Okay.
So it gives them plenty of time to take everything in, and then give them time to make up their mind.
Yep.
Whereas Margaret just went through to Aberdeen, got the blood test, and that was it. Nothing. So things are getting better.
I've got 3 daughters, and two of my daughters, the youngest 2, they've tested positive, and my oldest daughter, she's okay. And we went with her. She was staying in Manchester at the time, and she decided to go and get the test done. And I'll tell you something, that was just, it was really hard. It's really difficult. But since she's okay, so she found out she was all right. But because 2 of her sisters have got it, it's affected her as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
people feel guilty.
Like, why
they're going to.
Why have they got it? No, I haven't got it. You know, and it's a hard thing to cope with. Even if you're all right, you've still got that thing going on in your head. You know, well, you know, she's all right, and if they're saying, well, she's okay, but oh no, and it's like I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It is. When Margaret went into the nursing home in Nairn, excuse me, there was 3 or 4 the full-time staff, the nurses, and the manager went through that course at Stirling University, that Jock was on about. And you could have actually went to the Stirling for 3 days and finished the 2 days at home, but now you can do the whole thing at home on your computer. But there was an incident happened with one of Margaret's relations who was in the home with HD, and they took him out, and they actually reported them to the police, and the police took him away and put them into what's called the New Craigs in Inverness, which used to be Craig the Name.
Okay.
So I called a meeting with management when I found this out. And I says to them, there's any of you people trained on mental health? Why is that? I says, because it's part of his day. So the seniors have to go and get training up at the Rigmore again. So they do so much and say they're specialists because they've been trained. It's only to get extra funded from the government.
Yeah.
That's all it's for in some cases. Now, of course, with the COVID on for nearly 3 years, Gordon Bogan, who was the senior nurse for Huntington in the Highlands, he wasn't allowed into the nursing homes to train staff. So them that left probably was the trained ones.
Yes.
So they were left with nobody.
Was there not a time during COVID as well? I remember you saying to me that they wanted to do like appointments with doctors via Zoom rather than in person. They wanted to keep it like that.
Yeah,
so they didn't have to come through from Aberdeen. And I know, like during the pandemic stuff and that, Zoom and apps like that had their purpose for the time. But I always feel like there's a bit of a social firewall of where when you're talking, it's not the same as like we're talking now in person. How is that going to be reinstated in person? Are they still insisting on the Zoom thing? Because I feel like now that the pandemic looks like it's pretty much over from an emergency standpoint, like everything should be going back to, it's been a term used over and over again, but to normal. Like everyone should be able to meet up in person again. Yeah. And obviously, if someone would prefer to do it via Zoom, then that's their choice, kind of idea.
Well, strange you should say that. We went to a meeting 4 years ago in the town hall in Elgin.
Oh yeah.
And this was going to be sort of showing you a restructure of what the NHS was going to be in Moray. This was like looking ahead, looking to the future. And a lot of this stuff was actually using technology. So, I mean, we were trying to be serious about it. But the guy says, well, you can get in touch with a doctor. You can go on your laptop and check it. I said, well, that's okay. If you were out in Glenlivet, they only got BBC Two last year. So if you do get a signal, it's all like modern technology is okay in the right place. Yeah. But I mean, certain rural areas are a bit sparse.
We're all sitting at big tables, about 8 or 9 of us round those round tables, and a doctor at each table. My new doctor got up and he gave a speech for about 20 minutes. Yeah. And he came back, he says, what do you think about it? She says, it sounds very good. I says, I hope it works. But why did you not mention hereditary illnesses? Oh, forgot, never thought about it.
I got a list of stuff with John Eden. He was the CEO, the previous CEO for the Scottish Huntington Association. And he was really good, wasn't he? And he said to me, there's some questions to ask at this, when you go to this meeting. So we were sitting around the table. So I said to the guy, right, what's have you looked at as regards any neurological illnesses? I said, what consideration has been given to that? And the guy, he started to hedge around it. And I said, well, tell me, what have you done about that? He says, that's never been taken into consideration.
Terrible, isn't it?
Within this. And it was basically, what they were looking at was keeping old folk at home. Instead of trying to put old folk into
the cheap option. You look after your wife or vice versa.
What I was about to say, that they're trying to glamorise and make cutting look good for the area, swindle it in that way.
I worked in care for 6 years. I'm well aware of it.
But I think because, as Jock said earlier, what we're trying to push for now is for long-term care in Moray, because there's absolutely nothing.
Having a facility that can act, because if I'm correct, one of your daughters is in one of these facilities, but
she's isn't it? Fairburn House.
Is it not like 112 mile?
It's 120 mile round trip, 110 mile round trip. Yeah, and it's the day I was up to see her a day, and it's 3 hours. You're an hour and a half up and an hour and a half back. So, and I mean that's not just my daughter. There's a couple of other folk that we know of. There's a guy. He's gone to Nairn for Jock's wife. For years, Jock drove back and forth from a bride to Nairn. For 5 years, 6-7 times a week. You know, and it's like,
I mean, just even taking
even
especially now with like the cost of living and the fuel prices
going
through
exactly,
the roof, it's even more so now.
But I mean, what we were thinking about was if they could have a unit. I know there's one in Fraserburgh. They've actually had annexed a unit onto an old folks' home, but it's off for neurological, and they've got folk with Huntington's in there, and it's for younger folk. You know what I mean? It's not everybody. I mean, like my daughter is in. That's a year and a half. She's been in there now, and she's only 41. So it's like you can't put a young person in an old folks' home.
Yeah.
You know, plus the fact they've got folk up here that's trained. So there's nowhere here, even for respite.
Can't get respite, no.
That haven't got trained staff.
And even like you said that those facilities are specifically for the like young demographic. What happens when those people get older? Are they going to they're going to boot them back out into the street?
Exactly,
you know, just
There's not even end of care life to be look after it local.
Nothing.
I mean, when Margaret was coming near the end up there, we had a meeting with management, and I told them, make one of the rooms. They had 2 respite rooms because they made money off of that as well. You see, I should make one of them end of life, put somebody into it, and then them at Sunday could go into the spare room, because my wife's room was in the middle of a busy corridor. Okay. And of course, you've got staff working 24 hours a day, going back and forth. You can't help it, have noise and people talking and making a noise again. But there should be a separate place, but there's nothing.
Something a bit of privacy and just
exactly, to say your goodbyes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think what we've got here, kind of like, it's a way. If something's built from scratch, you could have all that stuff, proper stuff in place. Yeah. Instead of trying to modify an old building or something like that, it's not fit for purpose. But I mean, you've got like as regards training stuff, you've got a state-of-the-art medical place up at the college in Elgin. I mean, there's no reason why they can't have people trained here locally.
Which will make a massive difference.
If NHS Moray didn't have a place for us, we can produce people to train their staff. They use that as an excuse, but with no experienced people. We told them that the care for these people is not 9 to 5 job, it's 24/7.
Absolutely.
But there's people would come. Shirley could train people. There's a specialist nurse that I know would want to come up here and train people as well. She told me that herself. So they can't use that as the excuse.
Does it feel
but it's getting them to get something going.
Yeah.
I mean, even they started off with a 5-bedroom house or something. I joke, I want an annex to a building. We don't want a completely new thing. It's maybe too expensive. I don't know.
Does it feel like when you offer them solutions, they move the goalposts?
Well, normally they've always got a good answer, and it'll be like they like figures, they like numbers. They're always number crunchers, aren't they? And what we've seen is, like I said earlier as well, they've got figures that have been put through for the genetics place in Aberdeen, which is like 25 families in Moray, but we know there's more. So it's like, it's just the tip of the iceberg, really, that they're seeing. So they're sort of basing their figures, they'll be basing it on what the NHS figures that they're getting back through. So we were saying, well, if you get folk coming into a doctor's surgery, if a doctor was to even just a tick box, kind of like a ticker thing, was it? Have you got any hereditary illnesses in the family or something like that? And say yes, or no, whatever. But I mean, you could find out, there is ways they could find out. They could do more, put it that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not only, that was Professor Zoscher finding out that there's been a 50% increase in the northeast of Scotland in the last 30 years. Now, there's no been a levelling up. We haven't seen a 50% increase in help here.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it's not proportional to the amount of people, I
mean, there's 1,500 houses getting built in Bishop Mill. But there's no backup services so far.
Yeah.
You should be a doctor's surgery. Well, there's a home going to get built in Hopeland, we think.
Well.
That's maybe in 2 or 3 years' time.
But that was possibly, it's just maybe like an old folks' home.
Ah, you seriously good.
But, and the thing is, as well, is I remember we were at a conference, a carers conference a few years ago, and there was a guy stood up and spoke, and he said, what you got to remember is, if you're putting some of your loved ones into these care homes are operating as a business.
Yeah.
You know,
money.
It's
always the business behind.
So it's money driven. But again, it's essential. It's just part of the thing. Yeah. So you've got to be careful what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, like up here, you didn't have a lot of choice. You know, it's like my wife, when she got to a stage where she had to be taken into care, she was in an old folks' home at Garve. The Garve was about halfway between.
I've worked in Garve, that's a fair distance, like, wow.
And it was an old folks' home. She should never have been in there. She was only 42. Mm. So it's like, and I mean, that's going back 30 years ago.
Yep.
So nothing's changed. There's my daughter up the same. She was moved from Garve to Fairburn, where she is now, which is at Maryborough, beside Dingwall. And that's where she went to. Now, this is where Lynn is. Her daughter is now in there, 30 years down the line. Exactly the same thing.
Has it changed much in 30 years since you've experienced it?
Aye, it's the in respect to the facility.
Facility, staffing, kind of training of level of staff's knowledge and things.
I mean, I think it's like, I mean, the building itself is fine.
Yep.
Kids got a nice room, ensuite room, it's fine. And it's quite casual. You know what I mean? It's like there's quite a lot of young folk in there with different sort of neurological problems. Mm. But, and the staff are fantastic, really good. Good. I mean, they take them out and they were away to the Highland Show and stuff like this. They took them out for a day.
That's good.
Although they were restricted with the COVID, obviously, but
yeah,
no, they're great. I mean, they're really good, and they had trained staff there as well, with HD trained staff. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, again, with staff, people move on. They'll find that maybe one of the nurses has got the HD experience, but she'll leave, go somewhere else, and then they're left with somebody. You know, there's nobody there with the experience, so you've got to keep it's an ongoing thing. You know?
Before COVID hit, there's Gordon Bogan from the Reg Moray, his offices was. He used to come to the home and train all the new staff for HD.
Yep.
But of course, there was no training since COVID started, which meant that if any of the girls did leave, it had the training, they were losing their professional people. And you see the home in Nairn, it's owned by two brothers from Ireland, and they own 27 homes in Scotland, making money for them. So as long as that people are willing to build and open up private homes like they have,
a private business model,
it saves the NHS money.
Yes.
So because my wife, she belonged to Longbraid with me, but Moray Council had to subsidise her, and they took her money, though they were Highland.
Right.
You know, it's cheaper. Everything's down to cost.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
It's sickening, that kind of whole profit scheme. But I told you this back in March. The documentary that I was working on was to do with autism, and the conditions are obviously not the same, but the problems that I hear from people that are trying to campaign for that are the exact same problems I'm hearing right now. And this makes me sick to death with local authorities like the Council of why they've made speed bumps just round from mine where there's never been a traffic collision. Like, why are you spending money on that when there's need for vital services for people that are struggling, you know? And
it's huge.
It really gets to the point where I'm just absolutely shaking my head. And I mean, the last thing that I want to ask is before we wrap up, because we've been going for almost an hour and 10 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, Jen.
I've got kind of one thing as well. So
well, we'll go one thing each. Do you want to go first? Why?
Yeah, it's just kind of blew my mind a bit when you were saying there's only 25 people that you are kind of more than aware of just now. It's just kind of, we're going to try and get this podcast out as wide and as far as we can get this. Just if you've got a message for anyone that's maybe local, anyone that watches this that's maybe suffering or possibly think they're suffering, had history in the family, how can they get in touch with you? You know, how can you support these guys?
Yeah, well, we've got a Facebook page for local HD.
Yes.
Would I possibly be able to link that down below this video? I don't know, because I'm in the group. I think I might be able to, but if not, feel free to say the official name so people can look it up if they do watch this.
I don't know what the official name is.
I will look it up. Continue talking.
I'm not really a techie person.
It's just more kind of
okay, so the group on Facebook, which you'll have to request
on your phone
permission to join, is the Moray Huntington Disease support group on Facebook. So if you are needing, I'll try and link that down below, but if not, it's the Moray Huntington Disease support group on Facebook.
That's it.
And there's also SHA website, Scottish Huntington's Association.
They've got one
website,
well,
and there's a link in there to the Moray site as well.
Okay. Awesome.
And I think you can get in touch with them 24 hours a day. Or you used to be able to do that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And if there's anyone actually...
If somebody came up during the night, somebody was feeling bad, they could get in touch with them during the night.
Within the SHA website, the main website, Huntington's website, they've got information where you can, as Jock says, you can phone somebody 24 hours a day. And they've also got Shirley Cotto, the local nurse, had numbers in there as well. So MD wanted to either get in contact with myself through the Facebook,
be most welcome to come to
the
SHA.
SHA. Come to meetings. You know,
all of them are posted on the group as well.
We've got a list. Well, we're actually I'm just in the middle of revising it for next year now at the moment. So that'll be posted on the.
We actually the Moray group actually we won an award. It's the most active family group in Scotland.
Well done. Congratulations on that.
Didn't we, Joe?
Yeah. 2 years ago.
2 years. It was up at the McDonald's Hotel in Aviemore.
Suited and booted.
Went up. We didn't even know we were getting an award. I was sitting there with Brian and his family, and they announced it at the last. Moray is the winners. So Brian was up, and we're on the stage. And we got a kiss for
Sarah.
I shall need to wash that side of my face. Took a trophy like the plaque, and I went, yes! He says, you're not a football much, Joe.
So it's a recognition of your guys' hard work, though, and it's thoroughly deserved for the amount of campaigning you've put on. And the last thing I want to ask you is, just before we wrap up here, is we talked a bit about benefits when we spoke to each other in March, specifically personal independence payment. Now, I'll just reference the kind of similarity in the issues that people of different communities are trying to get with support in that. And that is one thing that keeps coming up. Of autism and Huntington's disease share one similarity, is there's no cure, there's no it's not going away. But they seem to have this rolling year-on-year approach of reviewing it. I remember we were talking about this last time, and this is a very frustrating thing for people that care for HD or HD themselves, in the sense of, why do we have to prove every year that we have this? Like, I know the game is changing a little bit, because I believe previously it was the UK government that had a hold of this, and now I believe it's the Scottish government, and there is some positive change coming with that. But can you just kind of vent the kind of frustrations that's been? Because I know that it seems to be like an area-wide thing for a lot of different things.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Somebody's got a terminal illness, and they've got to go through that process year in, year out. You know, it's just as a comprehend, really.
It started off, people were on disability living allowance.
Yeah,
and then they come away at the PIP.
Yep.
So our son had to go through to Dumfries to be assessed. And Derek, being an honest bloke, how did you get here, Derek? I drove the car.
Yeah.
How did you get up to the room? Did you take a lift? No, he says, I walked the stairs, go up the stairs. So he was suspended for 8 months, no money. He was behind on the mortgage. And I was at a conference in Stirling, and there was a lady from the thing where they were speaking about the new PIP, how good it was. And the lady that assessed Derek was a midwife. She knew nothing about Huntington's.
I mean, the people that I've spoke to have said it's usually been army medics, which are you know, especially with the people I was talking to, was more to do with neurological conditions like autism. Yeah. They're not going to be looking for stuff like that. They're going to be, can you walk? Can you move your arms? Can you move your legs?
It's just pigeonhole, like it's tick boxes.
It's a point system, isn't it? Yeah.
They're not actually looking at the person, you know, and what the person's up against.
And you can't assess that in like an hour period either, can you? You know, it's ridiculous.
It could have been a good hour for him or her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
And Jock says they shouldn't be assessed. And we had a meeting with Richard Lockhead one time, and I brought it up with that lady as well. Once they're diagnosed professionally by somebody that they have got the illness, they should automatically get all their money and everything they're entitled to, car, whatever. Yep. They shouldn't have to wait months or years to go through all this procedures.
No.
But Derek's house was going to be repossessed within 48 hours. Until Eileen panicked and phoned me, and I had to get somebody from Glasgow to go down to the bank with them and sort it out. That shouldn't happen. No one illnesses like that.
No.
You know what I mean?
You got enough.
It's very hard on the families.
You've got enough on your plate to deal with without this on top. You know, it's
that's why I'm bald, like, you know.
Here, trust me, I'm going the same way. I won't be long until I'm there myself. Anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah. This has been one of the best chats we've had. Honestly, I knew, because I met me back in March, this was going to be very laid back. It was just like one of the coffee meetings. Really, there's been a few cameras.
Where's the coffee?
I do apologise. I can't get everything right. But before we go, again, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck at the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Luck,
for going ahead, and we'll definitely get you on again soon with Brian.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you have to make it during the day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely.
I was panicking.
We're actually normally during the day. We do normally podcast. This is a rare occurrence for us.
Well, we said a month ago we'll get this done at the end of the week, and then this week came and we were like, right, quickly, everyone. And then I was phoning up the when I emailed you the other night to see if we could do it last week. I had phoned the community. You'd phoned them Friday.
I phoned them Friday.
And they said that it was free, and I was like, okay, no worries, because it was closed on Sunday. I phoned them up Monday, like, all the rooms are gone. I'm like, oh no. And then, thankfully you came here. It's worked itself out. But,
well, good.
But
well, thanks very much.
Appreciate it.